Welcome to the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. I'm Sean Aylmer. We've got a little bit of luxury for you today. Much like podcasts, there seems to be a startup for everything these days, and that includes the rarefied world of private jets. Airly is a company that aims to make private air travel more affordable and more accessible. It certainly made me curious, even just for a taste of how the top 0.1% live. Luke Hampshire is the CEO of Airly. Luke, welcome to Fear and Greed.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So how do you end up in the job you're in, running a jet company?
Yeah, really interesting. So Airly was founded in 2015. We obviously conceptually working on things many years prior to that. I've always been in aviation. I was that kid that caught the school bus to the airport after school and was a baggage boy for Hazleton. And so I've had that.
Where'd you grow up?
In Merimbula, south coast of New South Wales. So
yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Hazleton was a great little airline.
Oh, wasn't it?
Around regional New South Wales, yeah. Now part of Rex, of course.
Exactly right. So that was my job, getting dropped off after school. And that was at the tender age of 14. And I guess I've always been in and around aviation. Where Airly came about, I guess, is just understanding that the benefits of flying private. When you're in the industry, you get to see the ins and outs of how it all works. And private aviation was something that really connected with me. And I guess just how simple it is, how seamless it is. And yeah, it was just more of how can we make this accessible to more people, because Australia is a very infant market, I guess you could call it, not as educated as, say, the US, but how can we make that accessible to more people? So that's how we all started out. Back in 2015, we formally started Airly, and the rest is history.
So take me through how Airly works today.
Sure. So there's, I guess, a core mission of Airly is to make private aviation simpler to understand, accessible to more people, and at a more palatable price point. We do say affordable, but I think it sends a wrong message that we're on par with Jetstar or economy. It's definitely not the case still.
Yep.
But ultimately, Airly still does the private jet broker model as well, booking a jet for A to B for those who need it. But I think more of our interest and passion comes from the unique business models that we're bringing in, which does address that accessibility and affordability. We've got what's called our shared program, which enables you to initiate or opt into a shared flight along the East Coast on a private aircraft. Prices starting at $1,195 per seat, or $1,195 per seat. Really unique. That's where it all started, trying to change the status quo. And more recently, we launched a product called Access, which is a pay-per-hour program. You only pay for the time you're in the jet. So again, it's just flipping the model on how it's been done, I guess, in the past. So yeah, I guess the way you look at us, we do cover budgets top to bottom. We just acquired a company that does the lower budget side of things, but it's those two programs that I talk about that is really what Airly is about and how we work and where we put a lot of our focus.
Okay, so do you own the aircraft?
At this stage, no. So we've got really good partners that provide us the aircraft and crew. Obviously, over the years, we've known who to get really close with and who to perhaps avoid.
Yep.
So we've got a couple of incredible operators that provide us with a really safe and secure service for our customers and can scale with us as well.
Okay. And so effectively, you're leasing the aircraft for the time you're using them. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. We pay a fee to that operator that covers the fuel, covers the aircraft, covers the pilot.
Okay.
And then we build it into our model, yeah.
So who are your customers? Who uses the service? Is it who we'd imagine it would be?
No. Right. And I guess that's what gets me up every morning. It's because 95% of our consumer base you won't find on a rich list or on the main report. They're sophisticated men and women. And obviously the thing for us has always been to get more women on board, leaders in industry and leaders are, entrepreneurial type. No customer's the same. That's the intriguing thing. We haven't got all entrepreneurial tech CEOs. We haven't got all, I guess you could say, sort of semi-retired business folk. Yeah. We really do have a broad range of customers that use Airly, and that's probably the most exciting thing for us. It is that middle market that perhaps hasn't been tapped yet.
Yep.
So yeah, we've got 21-year-old e-commerce entrepreneurs. We've got semi-retired folk up in Byron Bay that, they've built an incredible business and understand the utility. I think that's the big thing for us is they're not signing up because it's a private jet. They sign up because they understand the core utility of flying private.
Yeah, okay. So what are the most, you mentioned sort of the very north coast of New South Wales then.
Yep.
You operate on the east coast. What are the most common routes that you'd fly?
Before this pandemic, it was Melbourne-Sydney.
Right.
Clearly Melbourne-Sydney. And then probably number two was Sydney-Gold Coast.
Right.
So those that are in Sydney with the holiday house up the coast. So I think since the pandemic had started, Sydney to Byron Bay would almost be the new Melbourne to Sydney. Right. It's all intrastate. It's just intrastate. There's no border concerns and it's an hour and 20 minutes up the road, I guess you could say. And that's where a lot of our flights are to and from now. But with winter, with the new program that we launched called Access that I spoke about before, we're going into Cooma a lot more now. And then it's a quick 1 hour drive up to the Alps.
To the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so how did COVID impact your business? You're only sort of going for 4 years and that must have been pretty tough.
I think we struggled like everyone did at the start when the whole country basically locked down. There was a lot of unknowns. Overall, I wouldn't say it's been great to us, but it's perhaps allowed those that were sort of in our core market to perhaps review how they fly and look at other options out there, and add into that a change to business models and how we go about our business. We've seen exponential growth. I mean, in the past financial year, our revenue's up 413%.
Wow. Is that because the convenience? Is it because people didn't want to take commercial flights, or is it because there weren't commercial flights?
To be honest, there's several components of it. So there is that component of I don't want to wear a mask on a flight. There's the facet of the airlines cancelling flights left, right and centre. So the knowledge that jet is waiting for you and will go when you're ready, it sort of flips the script as far as scheduling is concerned. Yeah. But there's also just the persistence. We've kept our head down and kept, I guess, on the same path the whole time. We haven't chopped and changed too much about or pivoting. It's just being consistent and really building that relationship with our customers that has shown them start to convert. So there's a few facets in there. COVID definitely has made people think twice about travel, which isn't good for the whole industry. But when they do travel, I think private's become more of an option, especially when you provide a product where it's perhaps more palatable financially.
Yeah, okay. Stay with me, Luke. We'll be back in a minute. My guest this morning is Luke Hampshire, CEO of Aylmer. So what's it like? So let's say I'm in Sydney and I want to go to Byron or I want to go to Cooma for the snow.
Sure.
I tell you when I want to leave?
Yep. So I think the best way to pitch this sort of experience is via the Access program. So we're just getting our app updated at the moment to facilitate that. But you'd basically book your flight, tell me what date, what time, how many of you going. You pay.
So how many of us, they're mostly 4-seaters, are they? What?
Yeah, under the Access program, it's a 4-seat jet, but we can get you jets up to 14 seats.
Right.
That's under just general charter, which is the more expensive option. So let's say it's just
4 of us?
Yeah, let's just say there's 4 of you. Through the app, you can book a transfer. We'll have our chauffeur come to your house, pick you up. The exciting thing about this jet too is it has a dedicated ski tube. So if you have skis or a board, you can bring it with you.
Right.
They'll drive you out to ExecuJet at Mascot Airport there. So you hang a left before you get to the domestic terminals.
Yep.
The jet goes when you're ready. So you'll walk into the lounge, grab a coffee, relax. The captain will come grab your bags, put them on the jet. And when you're ready to go, you'll walk out to the plane. It's about 10 to 15 metre walk out of the lounge. Put your seatbelt on, the captain will fire up the engines and you'll be out of Sydney within 10 minutes, I guess, because it's a longer taxi. And it's a normal flight time. Flight time's always the same. It's no faster, not really much slower. But it's the in-flight experience as well. So we have gourmet catering options that are individually packed. One of our customers who flew on an Access flight said the muesli was the best he has had ever. And I laugh and I'm like, yeah, okay, you're trying to be nice. And he goes, no, it really was the best I've had.
I got to jump in here. So someone has paid whatever they paid for a flight to wherever, Luke, and the best thing about it was the muesli.
I want to think it was all enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm sure
a standout was the captain and the muesli. The muesli got a special mention. So that really made my day when I read that. But ultimately, so you have beautiful in-flight catering. The cabin's quieter. It's far more intimate. You can talk to each other. You can do business privately if that's what you want to do. You'll land and let's say you're going to Cooma. We'll have a van meet you at the airport. Captain and the driver will transfer all your bags onto the van and, it's another 15-metre walk to the van and you're in Thredbo an hour later. So if you look at the flight time component, nothing's really changed, but it's everything around that flight time. The jet goes when you're ready. Let's say you're at a lunch with a client or a colleague and you go, oh, God, I've only got 20 minutes to get to the airport. It's fine. Yeah. You message your captain. It's generally not an issue. Yeah. So that's what the experience is like. People still, first-time flyers arrive at the lounge an hour before and you go, wow, why? Go live your life. I mean, the jet will go when you're ready. Yeah. And there's no need to wait around. That's why private is what it is, because it will wait for you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sold, Luke.
It is really hard to explain. The cabins are really nice. I'm 6'7", right? So I hate economy. I even dislike the emergency exit rows. I hate cramming into a metal tube with 150 other people. And you're one of 150, right? You might be in business class. You get a little bit more attention. Everything is about you when you fly private. Your captain talks to you. Everything is molded around what you are wanting. where you're wanting to go and at what time. It's just a very different feeling. And that's why we sort of try to cover the top to bottom range of budgets, because you can come in, book an empty leg for, say, $2,000 outright from, say, Sydney to Byron Bay on that 4-seater. It's, $500 if you took some friends with you each. You only have to do it once and then you're hooked.
Yeah, totally. Hey, you just mentioned the empty jets, and that was a purchase you made.
Yeah.
And the idea with that is that it's kind of the spare capacity that you have that people can use.
Yeah, there was a really exciting acquisition, and it came about when we were setting up our access program and partnering up with that operator. They just acquired a company, and he sort of tapped me on the shoulder and said, empty jets might be up for sale if you're interested. They've been at it since 2003, I think it was. They were the pioneer in Australia to make this more affordable and more accessible, the whole private aviation product. So all they do is sell empty legs. So when an empty flight is generated from a one-way, or perhaps, we might have dropped you off in Cooma and then flown down to Melbourne for the next trip, it opens up that capacity, and I guess it's priced in to the model. So you're paying a fraction of the price to be able to experience it. The only downfall is that you're fixed to someone else's schedule. So let's say you were flying on that access flight from Sydney to Cooma and you had that late lunch and went, whoa, I'm going to be half an hour late. You might be sitting in Cooma waiting to fly that empty leg, and you might be running a little bit late. It's really good for opportunistic last-minute travel. It's almost like a mystery flight. And we've seen countless customers start with us. They're now members. I shouldn't even call them customers, because they are part of that membership now, is when they got a bit of a taste on an empty leg and then they can't go back. So many people that after their first flight say, how am I supposed to go back to commercial now? Because it really is so different. So Empty Jets was a great acquisition. We closed that at the end of the financial year. We're going to apply some herbs and spices, I guess, from Airlie's perspective on the product. And hopefully it'll be a nice little company for us that does cover top to bottom.
Luke, it's been a great story, and it's really good to hear a company doing so well during COVID. So thank you for talking to us on Fear and Greed.
No, thanks for having me, Sean. Pleasure.
That was Luke Hampshire, CEO of Ayrlie. This is a Fear and Greed Daily interview. Join me every morning for the full Fear and Greed podcast with all the business news you need to know. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.